All right, in today's video, we are going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions. So you'll see that I have the problem 2/3 minus 1/6. That's the expression we're going to go ahead and evaluate today to figure this out. The reason I'm doing adding and subtracting together is because it's the same process. The thing that is important that you have to do for adding and subtracting is getting a least common denominator, or just any common denominator for that matter, to solve these. So I'm going to talk about going through that steps, but the biggest thing is understanding that whatever sign is there, that's the operation you need to do at the end of the problem. So let's start here. The first thing I like to do is I like to rewrite my problem vertically. This isn't necessary to do it, but it helps keep me organized. So find whatever works for you in this system and make sure you're doing that. So I have 2/3 minus 1/6. So the problem I have here is that I don't have common denominators. So you can think of it this way. They're not speaking the same language, right? This is cut into thirds. This is cut into sixths. It's too hard to figure out how to do any addition and subtraction when that's the case. So what I want to do is I want to find a common denominator. So how I like to show that work is I like to show that I'm going to rename these fractions to something different where the denominator is going to be the same. So it's an equivalent fraction with a different denominator. Now there's two ways we can go about getting a common denominator. Option A works every single time. Put a little A here for you, is to take your two denominators and multiply them together. Oops, not 8, 6. So 3 times 6 equals 18. So I could do the common denominator of 18. Now, again, works every single time, but it can lead to a little bit more work down the road, especially if your teacher expects you to simplify and get things in its lowest terms. So option B is to find the least common denominator, which is very similar to least common multiple. And what that means is, instead of just multiplying 3 times 6, is there another multiple that I can find that's smaller than 18 that they both turn into? So if you think about it this way, 3 can be 3 times 1 is 3. Another multiple of 3 is 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. I could keep doing this, and you'll see that I'll eventually actually even get to 18. Then I could do the same thing for 6, right? So 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3. And you can very, very easily see that we have 18 in common, but we also have 12 in common, and we even have 6 in common. So I always like to go with the lowest number possible here because that means I don't have to do any work to get it in lowest terms later on. So I'm actually going to go like this. I'm going to turn 2/3 into sixths. I don't like that 6. Okay. Now, to figure out how I get 3 into 6, I just need to do a little multiplication. 3 times 2 equals 6. So I have to be fair. If I multiply this denominator times 6, or excuse me, times 2 to get it to 6, I need to multiply the numerator times 2 to get 4. So 2/3, I'm renaming that to 4/6. And 1/6 I can just keep the same. So now that they both have 6 in the denominators, I can just do my subtraction. Subtract the numerators. 4 minus 1 is 3. 6 is going to stay the same. So your answer here is 3/6. Or if you want to get it in the lowest terms, you could recognize that that's equivalent to 1/2. Now, just to show you that it doesn't have to be the lowest common denominator, I'll do this again, but this time I'm going to follow the same process, but instead of renaming them to sixths, what if I go to this option A up here and do 18? So I'm going to turn 3 into 18. I'm going to turn 6 into 18. All I need to do is make sure I'm fair, and whatever I do to the bottom number, I got to do the same thing to the top number. Whatever I do to the numerator, I got to do the denominator. So 6 times 3 gets you 18. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 3, and that's going to get me 3/18. And then this is 3 times 6 gets me 18. So I'm going to do 2 times 6 and get 12. And now I can do my subtraction step here. 12 minus 3, that is 9/18, which you'll notice is equivalent to 3/6 or 1/2. So those numbers All these fractions here are equivalent fractions, and they end up working out to be the same thing, just with a different amount at the denominator. Okay? So make sure if you're adding or subtracting fractions, the biggest thing is to get that common denominator. Once you have that common denominator, you can add or subtract, and you should be able to solve your problem from there.